speaking of can't trust Donald Trump, Russia has put out recently, and this was the foreign minister. What is his name? Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rabakov, and he puts out what seems to be obviously true at this point, considering Donald Trump is threatening to send missiles, Tomahawk missiles. Now, I haven't spent a huge amount of time talking about the Tomahawk missiles because, from my point of view, it's not a thing until it's a thing. Until those things are sent, until those things are armed by the United States, it's not really a thing. It's a bluff. And it's one thing to bluff somebody who is weaker than you. It is another thing to bluff when you have no cards and they know you have no cards. By the same token, the very fact that you're willing to do that gets across something, meaning it means something, right? That's not just random. Rabakov is making the point of saying all the momentum that was summit has effectively failed. That the meeting and everything else, all of the goodwill that might have been there, and this idea that they're moving in a particular direction, all of that has stopped. That is over with. And this is a building, I think he described it as a building that is broken to its foundation. That this is a building that needs to be rebuilt. It's not something that can just be plastered over and fixed to move forward. Give me your take on that. I mean, I will tell you this, and I'm always interested in taking people who worked at the radio station on stuff like this. When we first left the station, effectively fired by the federal government, got involved. There was this thought by many at the station, okay, is this going to be resolved? And is this going to be resolved in a few months? Is this going to be resolved at all? Meaning, many people took what Donald Trump was saying, or at the very least was hoping that what Trump was saying was going to be some level of legit, that I'm going to end the war, it's not my war, et cetera, et cetera. What people don't realize, though, is that Donald Trump is terrified of being blamed for failing in Ukraine, which is, there's no way out that box, because either one way or the other, you're going to fail in Ukraine. Either you make a deal or you try to save face in some kind of deal, or you just fail in Ukraine. And he seems to be of mind that, well, I could just sell them weapons and they could just keep going indefinitely. So it won't look like I failed in Ukraine. Whatever other schmo gets in, at some point they'll collapse, and they'll collapse on their watch, not on my watch, because I'm just going to keep giving them weapons, missing the fact that they're going to run out of bodies. Give me your take on this. Did you think that, one, did you think Trump was serious? And B, give me your thoughts on what Rabakov is saying.
One of the big mistakes, because I, like you, was hearing a lot of that same analysis, and the flaw in the analysis is that it's actually Trump that matters. And this kind of goes back to the point I was making when we were talking about the deal was on the table for Biden, and now this is not administration specific policy. This is American foreign policy, irregardless of who is at the Resolute desk. So when Donald Trump comes in saying, I'm going to end this war, you don't end nothing until Raytheon and Lockheed Martin tell you can, along with the ideologues that, have bought into the Brzezinski full spectrum and the whole full spectrum dominance thing. No. So I listened to that, but I couldn't understand how those that were subscribing to that, I think they were giving Donald Trump too much credit. Because now what has happened is Europe has picked up the mantle. And Europe is now implementing a lot of the same neoliberal policies that a lot of the European economies are being crippled by the very same neoliberal policies and ideologies that have crippled the American economy. Mercedes, the German auto industry has, because the German auto industry has been on the decline for a number of years, they're shifting away from auto making to weapons manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like World War II in the United States to me.
Well, I mean, there's a difference.
Huh?
There's a difference. Europe doesn't have an industrial base. They don't have a
No.
technical base.
Just a very simple point. Just a very simple point of domestic industrial capacity being shifted to military capacity. That's the only parallel I'm drawing there. France is doing the same thing. Greece and Italy were doing this relative to the neoliberal policies, not necessarily the militaristic aspect of it, but we first started hearing the problems with the implementation of neoliberalism in Italy and in Greece 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now France's people are in the street because their social safety net programs are being decimated at the expense of neoliberalism. Germany, their social safety net programs are being decimated at the expense of neoliberalism. So Germany is now on this track. So and Russia and this conflict in Ukraine is being utilized as the rationale for why this has to be done. That's been the number one on their hit parade in terms of selling this whole flawed BS to the people. Yeah. We have to defend ourselves. Putin is a madman. He's going to take over Europe, and then he's going to the moon.
Not in that order.
To infinity and beyond. Right. So the train has left the station, but Donald Trump is not the conductor on this train.
He's a very weak man.
He might be at the brake, but he ain't conducting the train.
He is shockingly weak for a president. I mean, Joe Biden was weak also, but Donald Trump is the one who fashions himself as a tough guy. But he's not.
But Donald Trump had no worldview. Donald Trump is a fool.
No, I agreed. But even a fool, like I'll give you an example. Joe Biden might have been out of his mind. Like his brain might have been mush. Like if you put him under an X-ray, it'd be like, well, this looks like Jell-O.
Right.
But he had one thought.
It was Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, thank you. But he had one thought. We need to keep moving forward. We need to get Ukraine and NATO. We need to do so and so. Meaning he has his thoughts in regards to this kind of American primacy, even though it's delusional, even though it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
He had thoughts in that direction and was willing to push in that direction, even to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, even to the tune of pushing Europe, even to the tune of, bringing us to the brink of Third World War. He was willing to do it because that was his ideology. As you point out, Trump doesn't have an ideology in a sense. At least I don't think he does. I think he's a petty, tiny man who, if you prick him, he will bleed and scream. That's who he is, right? So you get a little pressure from Europe, and he tells Europe whatever he needs to. Hey, we got security guarantees, etc. Okay, none of that stuff happened, right? Russia didn't give you squat. Putin told you exactly what he wanted. That's what he told you. How you explain it to the Europeans is something fundamentally different. But he gets nothing out of it because he has no cards in that situation. And so he's doing everything in his power to get cards. Okay, we're going to work with Ukrainians to go after the gas thing. So we're going to blow up gas, fuel tanks and all of the stuff around Russia. We're going to try to go after Europe in order to get them to stop doing gas. Meaning he's a man in search of leverage in order to assert some kind of strength that he just doesn't have, can't find. And so you end up with where we are now, where the Europeans would say, hey, we don't want to do anything that ends this conflict because we're also delusional every bit as much as you are. And Trump is stuck in this kind of weird spot of, well, I might send tomahawks, as if that's going to change the context of the situation. I think you're right. I don't think he has an ideology in the way that Joe Biden has. So any push just pushes him. Last guy in the room is the guy that he effectively listens to and will tell you whatever you need to hear. as a salesman and as a con artist.
Joe Biden was surrounded by ideologues, people, for example, from the Brzezinski school.
Yes.
Between two ages, Brzezinski. He was surrounded by Anthony Blinken, ally versus ally. These were, for as sick as these people were and are, they did have a worldview. Trump is surrounded by incompetence. He is, because most of the people that are standing around him at the Resolute desk, they're there because they contributed to the campaign,
right?
And their sycophants, the Peter principle, most of them have been promoted to their levels of incompetence. They don't know what they're doing. Look at the woman that's prosecuting Comey. Yeah. Walks into the wrong courtroom, sits on the wrong side of the courtroom, and hands the judge 3 conflicting documents of which she has signed. And the judge says, "What in the world is this?" "I don't know." "What do you mean?" "I don't know." So I'm not saying Joe Biden was right. At least he had a world view, right? And he had something upon which to base decisions. Donald Trump is a transactional boob who can only he can't think beyond the immediate piece of paper in front of him. There's no long-term objective here. Mm-mm. So, but again, the train, now Europe is on board, and the Europeans are following the United States down this rabbit hole. People need to ask themselves, whatever happened to the Nord Stream pipeline? Remember that? And who blew that up and why that got blown up? And that blew up everything.
Yeah. Dr. Leon, always appreciate talking to you, man. I learned something in all these conversations. I really do.
Thank you. You just need to get out more. That's all.
Is that what it is? That's it. Dr. Wilmer Leon, radio host, political scientist, nationally syndicated columnist, host of Connecting the Dots, and also Sirius radio station. What is the name of that show, please?
Inside the Issue, Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern.
Check them out.
You Channel 126.
Fantastic rest of your day, man. Thank you for this. Be safe.